All right, episode 4, Heart of the Order. Sad time, guys. Sad time. Late last week, uh, the MLB spring training was canceled. The regular season was postponed due to the fear of the spread of the coronavirus, COVID-19. It's a sad day. All sports are pretty much canceled, other than the NFL. Obviously, the NFL is giving us some pretty fun things to talk about. But baseball is currently postponed. Guys, what are you doing to pass the time?
Having cabin fever, shut in,
Yeah,
pretending this is an episode of Walking Dead,
yeah.
it's been weird. It's been surreal.
Uh, Mainly working. Been doing some home workouts. Because one of the biggest things about the shutdown is you adjust your daily schedule. So one of those things is you can't go to the gym. So doing some workouts with my girlfriend who just walked by. But yeah, other than that, just kind of have to adjust, and it really sucks. It's different being a homebody.
Yeah,
You really need to get used to.
it's really weird. Like you gotta, I work from home every once in a while, but you gotta get up. You gotta take your showers. You can't just lay around all day. You just gotta stay a little bit active.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a change up. And the worst part about it is you don't have any sports to watch. You can just flip on the channel. I was scrolling through Instagram this morning. LeBron James was watching high school games. He was watching his high school games from 2002.
Man, he was a monster in high school too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. That's kind of how sports deprived we are right now. So it's pretty wild.
I definitely remember his game being televised on ESPN. Just watching him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that too.
30. I think he dropped 30 or 40, and I was like, wow, he really does just look the part.
They used to sell out Ohio State's games. They used to have, or Ohio State's arenas. They used to have to move their games from his high school to other arenas because they didn't have enough room for people to show up and watch.
It's crazy, man.
But yeah, that's just kind of how sports deprived we are right now. It's pretty wild.
Before we get into anything, do you guys have any crazy occurrences that's happened since our lockdown?
Not really. I've kind of just been hanging out at home. I had to go out and walk around for a story yesterday. I have to do it again today. So I have to go out and talk to people on the street and see how it's affecting them. So that should be interesting. But nothing too crazy, nothing too wild.
Yeah, so not yet for me, but ask me again in 6 hours because I'm going to the grocery store.
Oh man.
I'm definitely gonna try to not be one of the people in those videos fighting over toilet paper or Dunkaroos.
Right. I've gone to the grocery store twice. Once on Saturday, and then I went yesterday too.
Mm-hmm.
No ground beef, no burgers, no toilet paper, no hand sanitizer. Both occasions. I guess I'm gonna have to go really early in the morning at some point too. Alcohol stores are also closed now, so it's gonna be interesting to see what people do without alcohol.
Believe me when I say people got their alcohol. This is again what prompts my question. Number one, I went to the store Sunday.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would ever see the meat department just completely empty.
Yeah. It was wild.
It was wild. So I went there, did my shopping. We didn't get no meat, so I had to go to a butcher shop right next to me. Thank goodness they had some stuff. But if I didn't go during my lunch, I would have not had meat for the week. And that's not good because I'm a meat and potatoes guy. But the craziest thing was me going to the liquor store. I walk in the door, and the meat department, the shelves are just empty. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, there's a lot of damn people in here right now. Normally you go in a liquor store, there's maybe 7, and 3 of them work there. I understand it's like if you time of day depends on it. Friday after work, people probably go there. It's probably like 10 to 15. Like, not that bad. Dude, there was at least 75 people in this liquor store. And the line wrapped around from the beginning of the door all the way around the store. And I was in there waiting in line for 45 minutes to check it out.
That's commitment.
It was.
Dre, did you need alcohol that bad?
Dude, if I'm gonna be home 2 weeks, I gotta do something. You can only play so much Xbox and work out so much before you're like, thanks, man. Just to calm the nerves.
Yeah. I downloaded the new Call of Duty game yesterday.
Yeah.
Pass the time.
I just started it myself. Now I've had it, but now that I'm home, I have a little bit more time to kind of play. So yeah, it's pretty sick.
Definitely going to be an interesting couple of weeks. See how all of this plays out. I'm definitely excited. Not excited. I don't know why I said excited. This is going to be hell.
He's thrilled.
But all right, guys. So today, so we have a little more time to kind of go over all of the different divisions and things as we lead into the season. Because at this point, we have no idea when the season is going to start, how they're going to do it. I would assume at some point they're going to try to ramp things back up, because you can't just tell these guys to go out and be like, all right, this is these games count now. Like, you can't just like kind of set a dead date. Like, you got to give time. You got to give these guys time to like ramp things back up. I mean, you can't just throw a pitcher out on the mound who hasn't thrown a baseball in 2 or 3 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they handle that. But today we're going to preview the AL and the NL West. Guys, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the Dodgers and the NL West, or do you want to start with the cheating Astros and the AL West?
Just because there's coronavirus, we should not let the people know that the Astros have cheated.
I think it's only right to tell the truth, Dre. We can't.
You have to deprive the people of that knowledge.
Yeah, we can't deprive the people of that knowledge.
I think the AL West could be more interesting.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with
that doesn't tell me if we should do it first or second. That's just my call out.
I like it. I like it first because it's definitely more interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So the AL West. Guys, the Astros cheated. We've gone over this. Stein stealing scandal is crazy. How they've handled it is wild. The apology was kind of soft. The owner came out and said that it didn't help them win the World Series. But can you really believe that? Like, when you cheat, when you steal signs, when you know what type of pitches are coming, how does that not help you?
Looking over at my neighbor's desk in that 3rd grade spelling test, see how to spell desperate, definitely didn't help me on that test.
I don't know how to follow up that analogy, but I will say this. He's wrong. Manfred is wrong. He's handled this poorly. And the Astros locker room, clubhouse, I think has handled it poorly. The only people, in my opinion, who haven't handled it poorly are the other Major League Baseball players and the fans who boo them every chance that they get. But they're trying to move on. They're trying to put it behind them. So in order to do that, I mean, I think you just got to continue to boo them. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, it's just a weird situation, I guess, because, immunity and everything. Like, I just don't get it. This doesn't make sense to me. Immunity,
it's definitely
suspensions. I'm still trying to formulate everything.
But I mean, so they come back this season. It was just announced Verlander's probably going to miss opening day, whether it's in a month or 2 months or 3 months. So they lose their ace. They lose I think he was a World Series MVP at one point. But they still come back. They still got Robert Osuna at the back of the bullpen. They lost a few guys in the bullpen, so that should be interesting. But I mean, this team is still the same, whether they cheated or not. This team is still the same. But now that, given that everything is kind of out in the news now, do you still see them being as successful? I guess is what I was trying to get at. Like, are they still going to be the World Series Astros just because they can't cheat anymore, or do you think that they drop down to like a middle of the division team and kind of sneak into the playoffs?
I think that this is just like a psychology case study. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I feel like the players that are the ones that are getting booed the most and trashed the most, how could they perform? Like, it's just an idea of like human psychology. Like, you're just not able to get up to that same point. And I think that, like, yeah, this lineup's loaded. They lose Cole, but they still have like a pretty good rotation with Greinke behind Verlander and McCullers. But like, it's just they're not on that first tier anymore with the Dodgers and the Yankees, which they would have been if obviously all this stuff didn't happen. But they're in that second, third tier now, sort of in the ballpark of, Red Sox, Indians, like that tier of teams that could have a chance, but I don't see them as the same team because of all this.
I don't see him as dominant anymore. I mean, when you lose a guy, especially when you lose a guy like Cole in the pitching rotation, who, won them a bunch of games last year. He's a guy that you can go out and pretty much depend on the mound, and you won't need to score a lot of runs. But this lineup still has a lot of power in it with, Correa, Bregman. I mean, it's going to be important. It's going to be really important for Correa to kind of stay healthy this year. But you still have Bregman, you still have Altuve, you still have George Springer, you still have Josh Reddick. But it's just going to be it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they respond with all this. I mean, they've come out in spring training. They said, this is only going to make us stronger. That we're going to push through the the criticism and all this. But like you said, Brooksy, like I can't see them powering through this with everything that's gone on over the past couple months. I mean, that's something that most people wouldn't be able to power through. But I just don't know if it happens. I mean, they won. How many games did they win last year? They were a 100-win team last year.
107.
I don't see them winning that many amount of games this year. Like, I think they're going to have to sneak into the playoffs, honestly, somehow. If they do get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I see them as wild card team contender, but it's going to be hard for them to compete mainly because number one, they're not going to know what's coming in terms of hitting.
Yeah.
So I don't know how their bats can power through if they don't know what's going on. Like I legitimately have asked myself this question. Like, I don't know how good any of these players are.
Yeah.
Like, because they're like, in the perfect example is Jose Altuve. Like, his home splits and road splits were night and day. Like, I don't know if he's legitimately that good or not. And then, like, and I know, like, guys like Springer have power, Bregman have power, but, like, they actually a kid of baseball if they know what's coming. So I look at things like that, the psychological aspect that Brooksy was talking about. Like, I'm wondering how long until it just becomes numb for them, because there's going to be an adjustment when, 40 to 60,000 people are booing at you nonstop. Certain road trips, there's going to be certain hostile environments that they're going to have to deal with. So there's that. But outside of that, losing Cole, number one, that's huge. He's, in my opinion, the top two pitcher in Major League Baseball. Him and DeGrom, kind of a toss-up. I'd probably put DeGrom one barely over Cole, but it's neck and neck. But the biggest thing, I guess, is what I'm trying to say regarding the Astros and them sliding back down the division is that everyone else is sliding up the division. There's some teams out there like the Rangers and Angels that have made a ton of moves in order to, compete and get up to that level of winning the NL or the AL West.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing that kind of influences my decision of them kind of being down in in the division is because you have a team like the Angels who went out and got Rendon. The Athletics are always a team they're somehow in the mix, whether they're stacked with talent or not. And then the Rangers are going to be there too. I mean, they've made a couple significant moves. The Mariners, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about the Mariners? They kind of got off to a hot start last year, and as Greg Malik said throughout the season, they're going to drop back. They're not going to be in the mix by the end of the year, and they finish last in the division. But I mean, how do you guys kind of see this division shaping out as the year goes on?
Yeah, I see it being just a 3-team race. I think for the division you have, let me do it in my head. Astros A, Athletics A, Angels A, the A teams. They'll be the AAA division. I think the Rangers could hang in, but not over the course of the year. Granted, it's definitely not going to be a 162-game season, so who knows how that has to play into it. But I see it being a 3 teams for a 2 playoff spot. Like, I'm
right.
Always, never count out the A's, but I think the Angels have a whole bunch of new firepower and things to improve upon. So I think that those 3 teams, any one of them could win a division. Anyone could get that second wild card, and the other one, or that wild card, the other one would be out, in my opinion.
Normally, this division is kind of, the Astros are able to run away with this division. But you guys, I mean, there's 39 games that separated first place from last place in this division last year, and there was 10 games that separated the Astros from the Athletics. I mean, do you guys see it being more of a dogfight this year, like more close, I would assume?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely do. I definitely see a dogfight again, just because there's no way the Astros run away with a 10-game lead in this division with everything that's kind of happened to them in terms of outside of baseball with their investigation and how that's affecting them. And now, just looking at their roster, inside, put Garrett Cole in 20 games last year. Every time he stepped on the mound, he was lights out.
Yeah.
I don't know how you replace that kind of production. And I don't believe they did do it in the offseason in terms of, bringing in another starter. I know they get Lance McCullers back, but Lance McCullers is no Garrett Cole, and Zach Greinke is really good, but is he still the same guy? Is he still the same pitcher, or is he going to start to tail off because, he is up there in age? You already talked about losing Verlander. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. So you're looking at guys like McCullers and Josh James to kind of just carry this rotation for a little bit, and that's tough. That's something I, as a baseball guy, or even as an Astros fan, how can you have confidence in that?
Yeah, you go from having 3 possible number 1 guys last year to entering this season with just 1, entering the season at least. I mean, Greinke is going to be the only guy in the lineup or the only guy in the rotation that's like a significant number 1, and you don't know when Verlander's coming back. I mean, so that's definitely, like you said, that's definitely a big kind of transition to go through, especially in the pitching rotation. But then you go back into the lineup too, and it's like, all right, are these guys actually going to perform?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and their 2 aces are what, 30, both 37, 36, and 37. That's just
Verlander's up there, yeah, and Greinke's probably nearing the end of his career. Greinke's one of the most, side note, Greinke is one of the most interesting guys ever.
He's fascinating.
Have you ever read any articles on him or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. I have. When we talked about this a little bit last year when we got traded.
Yeah.
He's different. That's the best way to kind of put it. Yeah. He's just a different cat.
He doesn't do, the only time he talks to the media is days after he pitches. It's the only time he'll ever talk to the media. And there was an I don't know if you guys subscribe to The Athletic at all, but there was an article that came out probably 2 or 3 months ago, and it was just a collection of stories from former teammates and coaches about Zach Greinke, just side notes and stuff like that. It's one of the most interesting stories I've ever read. That guy is just, I don't know. He's something else.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, quick side note, but
You'll enjoy it. You enjoy that. You'll look it up, and it will take up a ton of your time because there's a
yeah, there
lot
you
of different stuff.
Well, that's good. I could use that today. In line for groceries.
Quick side note. But I mean, so given that just kind of everything the Astros have gone through, I mean, obviously, as we've said kind of through the course of this preview already, it's not, I mean, they're not going to walk away, or they're not going to walk away with this division this year. I mean, and then last year, the Athletics were only 10 games behind them. I don't think anyone really saw them doing what they did. They kind of snuck up on people. Do you guys see them kind of bouncing back this year and doing that again?
They'll do it for the next 30 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a plug and play. They find the Matt Chapmans, they find the Lorenas, what's the name of the pitcher?
Sean Manaea.
Yeah, Maneas and the Zadars, but like that's their calling card. Yeah, they're always in the mix.
Yeah, and I will admit I'm a team that legitimately didn't believe them. Even when they won 97 games, I was like, there's just no way that they actually did this looking at their roster and everything. But the way they do it is so, dare I say, Cardinal-esque. Except more impressive because they do it with one of the, if not the lowest payrolls in baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, they find these guys like castaways, like Chris Davis, who's Mr. Consistency, although now he's starting to kind of fall off. But Matt Chapman and Matt Olson, two anchors that slant at their stars. But what I really like about this team is their starting pitcher. We talk about Manaea, who was injured last year, and he came back, I believe, towards the end of the year. But they got Jesus Luzardo, who one of their young studs who was hurt. He came back late last year. And A.J. Puck, who's coming off Tommy John surgery, finally going to get a chance to make his debut. So that guy throws gas. That guy got some stuff. I'm excited to watch him pitch and see how he kind of thrives in Major League Baseball. But, he's penciled in right now as our fifth starter. So I look at this team top to bottom. I mean, they're gonna be back. They're gonna be back. I think towards the top and might actually win this division this year. Get out of the wild card game because that's been their Achilles heel. Is every time they make it to the playoffs, they get to the wild card game and they can't get past that. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to see them actually have a chance of being a series because they got a team built for an actual 5-game, 7-game series.
Not rather than just like a one game playoff type of thing. They also have the whistleblower himself, Mike Fiers.
Oh, I forgot about that.
In the starting rotation. So quick random question. When Mike Fiers takes the mound against the Houston Astros, does he throw at the Astros like most pitchers might this year? Or is he the one guy who won't throw at any of them?
I would say he's the one guy who doesn't throw at them because people like your boy Big Papi are calling him a snitch and stuff. And, I don't think they're going about that the wrong way. I don't think they're going about that the right way is what I should say. But I think when he takes the mound, and whether it's in Oakland or in Houston, especially in Houston, they're probably going to beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't see him. I don't see him throwing at anybody. I just can't because, like the Astros, he wants to kind of put this behind him too.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with you, Dre. But the rest of this lineup, I mean, these guys are top to bottom. I mean, I think Liam Hendriks has always been a solid closer. They got Slippery Rock representative Lou Trevino in the bullpen. That's another one. And then I'm a real fan of their center fielder and Ramon Laureano. Kid's got a cannon. Kid has a cannon.
He made so many plays last year. It was awesome to watch him play.
Yeah. So he was fun to watch. He was kind of the guy that caught my eye last year. But again, I mean, like we've said, this team kind of has all the pieces. It'll be interesting to see kind of how their starting rotation kind of carries them throughout the season. But I mean, like we've said, they got the power with Chris Davis, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson are kind of key pieces to plug in there. So you never know. They could be at the top of the division by the end of the year. But there's another team in this division that has made some moves in the offseason, and that's the Angels. Significant improvements, I think, in my eyes. When you have a guy like Mike Trout, you got to put some talent around him, and they went out and did that by adding Anthony Rendon, who could be seen as one of the superstars coming up through the system, the MLB, in the MLB.
Man, I gotta say this right now. Rendon by far and away is my favorite signing in the offseason. I love the contract he got. I love the fact that the Angels are being aggressive. I love that they're finally putting a team and a lineup together that can help Mike Trout essentially get into the playoffs, because that is the one thing that is missing from his career is some type of postseason defining moment. And, he hasn't had a chance to have that because the team is at best done 500.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at this lineup top to bottom, you get you throw Rendon in there in between Upton and Trout. They got a nice little murderer's row there, and they get guys back like Joe Adele, and Shohei Ohtani now is 100% healthy. He's gonna, after this whole coronavirus thing passes over, he's actually gonna start. He was scheduled to play. He was penciled in to start in May, but we're not on baseball till June. So, and when he was on the mound, he was an ace. So they actually sort of kind of have an ace now, and they went out and they added Tehran as well. I kind of like where this team is at. I wouldn't be shocked if they actually win this division.
Yeah.
I love this lineup. And if anything, like, it's a total hypothetical, but if that trade that they had set up with the Dodgers for Jock Peterson and Ross Stripling would have actually gone through, like to have Jock Peterson in addition in that lineup and playing the outfield, as well as just like a deep pitching arm like Stripling. And I think they were just losing maybe like Luis Renfrigo, like a middle infield depth guy.
Yeah.
I was like, man, like I would love just to see that trade have gone through and only beef up this lineup. But even without it, this lineup is looking healthy, rich. And then also like the Joe Madden effect, whether that's positive or negative, who knows, but it's a new face in the room, different ideas.
I mean, Joe Madden can only bring. I mean, he only can help a team like this. I mean, you got talent up and down. Justin Upton. I'm really a fan of Andrew. I can't even pronounce his first name.
Andrelton Simmons.
Yes, at shortstop. I think he has one of the best
defensive wizard.
I think he has one of the best gloves in the game. Tommy La Stella had a pretty solid game. Had a pretty solid season last year too.
Like an all-star, right?
I think he's a guy that could help this lineup as well. And then you always got Albert Pujols. You got the machine. He's later in his career, but he can still help this lineup. The one thing I'm worried about this team is their pitching rotation. Do you guys think they have enough arms to kind of get through the season?
I would say looking at it, I would say no. But I also don't think they need much either. I think if they can get a 3 to 5 starter, instead of a top of the rotation starter, I think they can still be okay, because I do believe Shohei Ohtani can. I think he can anchor down a rotation. I think he can be an ace. And I really, really like Andrew Heaney. I think he's severely underrated. But again, he's a guy who hasn't had a chance to kind of put it all together due to some health concerns in his past. But again, you're starting the season a little bit later, and with it being shortened, I'd imagine you're not asking him to start 30 games. So I think a lot of it depends on what Dylan Bundy can do. So right now he's penciled in as our 4. So we'll kind of see where that is. But if they can add a back of the rotation starter, I think they'll be all
right. Oh. All right. So let's move on to the NL West real quick. The Dodgers have held down this division for I don't know how long, significant amount of years. You guys,
when were you born?
1992.
Okay, probably since then.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, except for the Bonds years. I'm sorry. We got to give those credit. But,
Yeah, you gotta give those guys credit.
but you get it.
But I mean, they've been holding it down since since I started watching baseball. Do you guys see that changing at all? No. Yeah.
I don't even need to say anything.
I think that was
No
a
words.
pretty easy answer. I mean, they go out and they pull off one of the biggest trades of the summer by bringing in Mookie Betts and David Price. They only give up Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, maybe a couple other pieces here and there. Maeda goes to the Twins. They still have all the pieces in place. I mean, guys, they won this division by 21 games last year over the Diamondbacks. I mean, they've been to 3 straight World Series now. Is this the season they get it done?
They almost have to. I mean, it's like they still have questions in the back of the bullpen, but the bullpen will have a tough time blowing too many 6-run leads as opposed to 3 ones. But yeah, this is a case of World Series or bust. They're going all in. I mean, they haven't won a World Series in over 30 some years, right? Like late 80s. So it's just like at this point, a team of that stature, that payroll, the moves that they make.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't, we all should be able to pillage their lineup.
Magic Johnson's going to be like, yeah, it's over, guys. You obviously, guys, can't get it done, so we're going to have to make some changes. Clayton Kershaw, you're gone. Mookie Betts, see you later. I doubt they would do that, but still, I mean, they have all. This is a team that's going to have Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, bats up and down the lineup. I mean, like it's going to be very, very difficult to beat this team in a 7-game series because you might be able to shut them down for 1 game, but after that, like there's no way they get shut down for more than 1 game in a 7-game series.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, and then so obviously the Dodgers walk away. I feel like the Dodgers walk away with this division, but you also have a couple talented teams, and I feel like the Diamondbacks and the Padres are both going to be playoff contenders this year. I mean, what do you guys think? The Padres are a younger team; they got a bunch of talent coming up. Machado's there now. They made a couple moves in the offseason. The Diamondbacks obviously have Starling Marte now from Pittsburgh. They signed Bumgarner in the offseason. I mean, what do you guys think of the rest of this division?
Yeah, you can
go
go
ahead.
Same time. So I like both, but I almost like the Diamondbacks more. I think they were a team that after losing Goldschmidt, you're like, oh, well, they're cashing in the next few years. But you had guys like Ketel Marte, Nick Ahmed, Peralta in the outfield just like step up and build this like good nucleus. And when you take that and you add a guy like Marte, like Bumgarner, and I think they have young arms. They are profiting from Goldschmidt was a trade, right?
Yeah. Goldschmidt was a trade to the Cardinals.
From prospects I have no idea they got from Goldschmidt, but the ones that they definitely got from Greinke last year. So like they are not a threat for the division, but I think in terms of the wild card and making the playoffs and making some noise there before they inevitably face the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Both teams, the Padres and the Diamondbacks, are threats, but there's something about the Diamondbacks that I like a little bit better.
And I do like what the Diamondbacks have done this offseason in terms of adding Starling Marte. One of their biggest things definitely last year was not having enough pitching, so they go and get Mad Bum. Now, as Mac knows, and Brooksy, I don't know if you know this, when it comes to Mad Bum, I am the president, CEO, and leader of the Hate Fan Club. What I don't like about him is I think he's a selfish, arrogant prick. More so than anything else. And you can say whatever you want, me being a bitter Buckeyes fan, but yeah, I hated that too. It just further adds on to my hatred for him. Now, he can pitch, and that run he had back in 2014 was incredible. So there's nothing I can say or do about that. But I don't think he's got the stuff anymore. His fastball's kind of flat, 80, 90, 89 miles an hour, but you're not asking him to be the ace. You're asking him to be number two, despite him getting paid like an ace. I think Robbie Ray is the reason why that this team is carried. But to kind of bring all of that together based off what Brooksy was saying, I actually like the Padres if we're talking about which team do we like out of these two. I like this team. I think their biggest problem last year was that they were kind of culture shell shock type situation.
Yeah.
Where we finally got some free agent in signing Manny Machado. And this is a team with a ton of depth in their farm system, a ton of assets in order to acquire what they need. They didn't just go out and sign Garrett Cole, who I thought was one of the teams that could have done that. They didn't go out and just sign anybody, to make sure that they kind of just, capitalized on their window. I think they're waiting for the right guy to essentially trade for in order to, further build this team, because this team is very young. This Padres team. I mean, talk about Manny Machado. I mean, yeah, that's the anchor, that's the piece. But Chris Paddock was Rookie of the Year candidate. Francisco Mejia, their catcher, he was a top prospect at the time, and they acquired Tommy Pham, which I love. I love that move. He had a real bounce back season in
Tampa
Bay, but Fernando Tatis Jr. is a stud, and he's the guy I think that kind of vaults them over the Diamondbacks and also any other team in the NL, because I think this is one of the teams that could legitimately win the wild card this year.
It's funny. I mean, they're a team that went from the bottom of this division. I mean, they were at the bottom of this division last year too, but they have so much potential with guys like, I mean, obviously, like you said, Tommy Pham, Tatis, Machado's over at third. They brought in Jurickson Profar as well, who's always been this kind of top tier prospect, but he just kind of hasn't shaped out. He hasn't had the numbers that everyone expected. You never know what he's gonna do. Brian Dozier is his backup. Has always had a big bat. And then you got Eric Hosmer over at first base, who kind of signed that huge contract after a big year in Kansas City. This team is they have the pieces. They just got to kind of put it all together. And I remember last year you were high on Chris Paddock all year long, Dre. And now he's the number one guy in San Diego. You guys think this team is just one piece away maybe from being, a perennial contender?
I will say yes, but I also believe that they will acquire that piece.
Yeah.
I think they're just right now, I think they realize their window isn't 1 year, 1 year wonder, like we got to do it now. So they don't feel no pressure. Like their window is just starting to actually open. I think Machado was the signing that kind of like cultivated everything. Like, hey guys, we're gonna be coming here. Like, and in order to do, and when they did that, you're talking about a team like, and I don't mean to cross sports here, but a team like the San Diego Chargers, they just left the city. Like now it's just the San Diego Padres. So it's like, how do we, add excitement and put fans in these seats? With their window just opening, I think they realize that, and they're going to, take some of these pieces that they have, some of their farm system depth. That's a lot of depth. I think they go out and they acquire, the starting pitching that they need in order to, because I believe that's the piece, starting pitching that they need in order to, vault themselves up to the upper echelon.
The upper echelon of the division. And then the other two teams in this division, the Rockies, or another team that I kind of want to talk about. They finished fourth in the division last year. But there's one specific player that I want to talk about on the Rockies, and that's Nolan Arenado. Do you guys think he gets traded this year?
I thought he would have already been at this point.
Yeah, and I actually agree with Brooksy there. I mean, I'm actually shocked he's still on this roster based off the stuff that he said.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty wild. I mean, I'm still surprised that he hasn't been traded. I mean, this is a team that finished 35 games back, only won 71 games. he's one of the best players in the game. He could really change the shape of a franchise. And I mean, I would assume they're just kind of waiting to get the right value for him. But I think that's definitely something to watch as the season goes on. Maybe there's a team down the line that kind of needs, a bat in their lineup to kind of change their fortunes. And I mean, he's the guy that could do it, I think, for a lot of teams. And you got the Giants. They finished third in this division last year, but I don't really see them doing much this year. Do you? It's kind of at the end of the dynasty they had built with Bochy at the helm. They don't really have too much talent left, but we'll see what happens.
Excuse me. I can't lie. I actually did not know they finished third in this division.
Yeah.
But you sit there and you talk about it. I forgot about that run that they had during the All-Star break, and I said that is the dumbest thing that they can ever do is just essentially stand pat or bye because they weren't. Yeah, this is coming back. They weren't any type of team that legitimately wasn't going to contend.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they should have sold off Madison Bumgarner and any asset that they had last year. They didn't do that, and now they're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
To me, this is outside of Bumgarner. I'm just like, oh, this is an incredible 2012 and 13 All-Star team, but this is 2020 now.
Yeah. I mean,
Jeff Marge is different. Johnny Cueto is different.
Yep.
Longoria is different.
Got Tony Watson at the back of the bullpen. Kevin Gausman, Brandon Crawford. It's just guys that they used to be top tier guys, but as they've gotten later in the season, their careers, they're just they're not there anymore. So that's definitely Giants. I mean, it was good to see their run, but I think this is the season that they finished maybe as the bottom dwellers of the West. So definitely,
I'd even go as far as say Major League Baseball. I look at this roster. I don't think they're any good. They got a bunch of aging veterans and aging names, and Posey and Longoria, and then they have some guys that are sort of household names among baseball circles, and Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt, but I mean, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
Especially in this division where there's so much star power, even with a team like the Rockies who finished fourth in this division last year. I just can't see them competing.
Yeah, it's tough to see what their direction is, what their objective is this year, because it doesn't make sense.
You would think it'd be one of those years where they're going to be like, all right, we don't have a chance, so what do we do? Be interesting to see kind of how the West, the NL West shapes out. Obviously the Dodgers are going to be at the top, but where it goes from there, I think you have two teams that could be possible candidates for wild card spots. But outside of that, I don't really know what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I just want to know, I guess, two things. Number one, who finishes in second, and number two, by how many games do they finish in second by compared to first? Like, I want to see that discrepancy.
So 21 games last year. I think it's going to be larger than that this year.
I would normally agree, but like Brooks, you said, is a point that we're not considering, and that is the shortened season.
Yeah, true.
That affects some people, some teams. So it's going to be interesting. Like some teams that we're probably counting out now might actually, could get off to a hot start and just be in it. But like the hot start could carry them into August.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's a different dynamic.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Heart of the Order, the NL and the AL West previews. Obviously, next week we'll close it out with the AL and NL Central divisions, and hopefully we'll have some more news about what might be happening, when the season might be starting, things like that. But until then, enjoy your quarantine. Don't get the coronavirus. And have fun. Thanks for joining us, guys.